There are arrests for heroin, cocaine, meth, crack, PCP, hydrocodone, MDMA, Xanax, GHB, ecstasy, and a whole list of other narcotics and prescription drugs for which the suspects did not have a prescription. Why does Sandy Springs charge suspects with disorderly conduct when they could be charged with state drug charges?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, if we do that, they end up going downtown and nothing ever happens, first of all. They oftentimes beat our police officers back out on the street faster than our police officers can get through with the paperwork and back to headquarters. It's not a delay system, it's a nothing happens system. If we give them state charges, they go to the Fulton DA and the Fulton court system, it disappears. They never get the help that they may need. We're one of the few municipalities that has a drug diversion program. We just found that they never get prosecuted within the Fulton County system because it's overwhelmed. If you go to Sandy Springs and you're involved in misbehavior, they'll put you in jail.
I'm sure you're aware, we reviewed over 700 disorderly conduct cases. The vast majority of those cases were drug cases. Some of these offenders on probation aren't violated on their probation when they're arrested for disorderly conduct in Sandy Springs. Is that a concern?
We find that there's all kinds of breakdowns. We may not know they're on probation. We may find that out subsequently, or we may not find that out at all. If they're out on probation, then we need to cooperate to make sure that probation is revoked. But we've got a large number of people who also die every year from drug overdoses. The opioid crisis in this country has been well publicized, and Sandy Springs is not immune.
Why call it disorderly conduct? Why not call it a misdemeanor municipal drug charge of some sort?
That's just the most efficient charge that we found to be able to make sure that justice is done and help is given.
Does Sandy Springs have a drug problem?
America has a drug problem that happens to be manifested in communities like Sandy Springs, like Atlanta, like Birmingham, like Charlotte, like Hapeville. Every community is affected by the drug problem.
One of the things, though, is when I map drug offenses, I did a recent 6-month period. I mapped 42 drug incidents, but there were 279 disorder incidents. The public has no idea that that disorder incident in their neighborhood is actually a drug arrest.
How did you figure it out?
We had to pay hundreds of dollars in order to get incident reports. Even the arrest reports don't say that the underlying offense was drugs. It just says disorderly conduct. You have to read the officer's narrative to find out what it really is what they call DC drugs or disorderly conduct drugs. Isn't it hard for the people of Sandy Springs to track where the drug problems are in their neighborhood if it's concealed under this title, disorderly conduct?
I don't think so. We're very transparent. We're not trying to hide anything. It's just the legal system forces us into these little boxes that we have to operate in to get the public safety objectives that we want to obtain.
An officer on the streets of Sandy Springs encountering drugs is left with two choices. Charge them with a felony that has minimum mandatory sentencing, or charge them with this city ordinance that may have other options.
Sure, it gives us the flexibility to make sure that these people are getting the justice they deserve. And justice in some of these cases may be they need treatment. We're going to go this particular route and see if we can help the people that we encounter who have drug issues.
If you arrest them on felony drug possession charges, they go downtown, but the fines go downtown too, right?
Our balance sheet's pretty healthy. This is not about revenue, it's about people. If it was about revenue, we'd be trying to stack the charges rather than going to a lower level charge. I mean, you could argue that what we're doing is sacrificing revenue by doing this, and it's costing us money to operate this diversion program. $1 million and $100 million budget, and disorderly conduct is even a smaller piece of that.
Your municipal court turns a profit. I mean, the ledger, it's $1.5 million, and it brings in $2.5 million.
Out of a budget of $100 million, it's not a huge revenue generator.
Is it advertising to these drug dealers and drug users, come to Sandy Springs and you won't get a felony record?
That's just the opposite. You come to Sandy Springs, you're not going to sit downtown and sit back out on the street. If it's justified, you're going to jail.
Does that concern you that you've got drug users and in some cases dealers that are armed that aren't getting charged with that?
Our police officers are trained to know the difference between a dangerous situation, a real felon who's using a firearm in a nefarious way, and somebody who just happens to have a gun but has a drug problem. Those officers have the discretion to evaluate that situation, and they're trained to evaluate that situation and make the judgment on the street, what is the best charge in this situation.
As the mayor, you're also an employer. If someone is sitting in front of you for a job in the city and they have a disorderly conduct conviction versus a drug conviction or arrest, how does that make you look at that candidate?
Well, we thoroughly vet everybody. We're going to figure it out.
They don't have a felony drug charge on their record. And
in return, they have to get into treatment. The word goes out, don't come to Sandy Springs. They will arrest you. And if the charge is warranted, they will put you in jail.
As someone who's been in government as long as you have, you know you only get what you measure. Who's measuring the drug problem in Sandy Springs? Is there anyone?
Yeah, those police reports have the details and the information that we need. So it's not a problem of tracking the statistics and covering up a problem, but we've got the data. The police department has been very frustrated with how these cases have been handled by the county DA. And I'm not going to be necessarily critical of Mr. Howard. He's got more cases than he can deal with down there. And I'm sure he's probably going to be pretty happy that we're taking some of them off of his caseload and dealing with them out here in a way that helps reduce crime, that gets people the help that they need. And as I say, those people who deserve to go to jail will get there.
Has Paul Howard had anything to say on this?
I haven't talked to him about it.